In this video I'll be explaining how to create a subdivision surface. So subdivision surface is actually a combination of a polygonal surface and a NURBS surface, and the fact that we can use all the polygon tools but still have a smoother base object the way a NURBS surface is. So what I'm going to do first is come over here to the command panel and create just a basic box, and our final outcome is going to be a hand, a basic hand, 3D hand. So I'm going to change some of the parameters here, get a basic shape going. Maybe go ahead and change the coloration to more of a peach color. Zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to go to the Modify tab, and I'm going to go ahead and convert this into an editable poly, so I can be able to use all of my polygon tools to still get a smoother object. So the way to get our smoother object, the subdivision surface object, is to scroll down within the Modify tab and to choose the subdivision surface menu, or the rollout. If it's not open, you can just open it up and choose Use NURMS Subdivision. So this smooths over the object one time, but then I can also, under display, change the iterations to a higher value. So I'm going to change this to 3. Then I'm also turn off isoline display. Now if you have a lower computer, then you might want to keep the isoline display on and a lower iteration value. But I'm going to keep mine the way that is right now. The other thing is I'm going to change my colorations of the show cage option to be a little bit easier for me to see this. I'm going to change one to blue and the other one to red. So opposite colors will be easier to see. So now that's all I have to do. Make sure Use NURMS Subdivision is on, turned off isoline display, and then turn the iterations up some so my object's smoother. So now all I'm going to do is just use a lot of the edit polygon tools to be able to create my hand however I want it to. So I'm going to scroll back up and choose my face mode. The one thing to understand is that when I use my Use NURMS Subdivisions, I'm going to be editing the basic cube box. I'm not actually going to be editing the faces, edges, and vertices on my geometry. If I hit F4 to turn on and off my outlines for my wireframe for my object, you'll be able to see all the geometry, but I'm not actually affecting that. I'm actually going to be affecting the cube base around that. So this is the use of the lattice-based subdivision form, but still allowing to be able to have a smoother object. So first off, move to my front view and scroll down with my Modify tab and find my Cut tool, and come over here and create some subdivisions in here on the front of the face for my fingers. So I'm going to create 2 lines right near each other, and this is going to be for my fingers so I can still have the gaps between them. Come over here and I'm going to create a cartoon hand, so I'm just going to have 3 fingers, and I'm going to pull up 2 more vertical lines on that face as well. Go back to my perspective view. So I'm going to right click on my object or out of the object so I can deselect that tool. So I'm going to select my 3 faces here, and they're a little off, so I might come in here with the edge tool and move these edges a little bit over to the right. So I have more so 3 evenly shaped fingers, evenly shaped faces, which will then in turn become my fingers. So I'm going to select my 3 faces up here that I just created, and I'm going to extrude these out. So I'm going to get the extrude tool and extrude these out for the 3 basic finger points. So there's one. Extrude it out one more time for the second joint, and then now for the 3rd time for the final tip of the joint, or tip of the finger. So another thing to do to start off with is actually just to scale the fingertips down some, and then to move these up so it'll look more like a finger would. Maybe scale them down a little bit more, so a little bit more rounded up in the fingertip. So next step, I'm going to come over here and actually do the same thing I did with the fingertips, but do this for the thumb. Scroll down and get my Cut tool and create a vertical line on the side of the hand for the thumb, and come over here and create another one for the other side just to the right of that. Exit that tool, go back to the perspective view. So let me go back into face mode here and select my face and extrude this out. Now for more of a natural hand, I'm going to go ahead and rotate this thumb around. So the thumb's going to be in more of a natural position to begin with. Maybe scale it in a little bit. I'm going to come back and scale the other fingers in as well. And I'm going to get back Extrude tool again and extrude that out one more time. And scale this in some more. Looks more like a thumb. And one more time for the tip of that thumb. So it'll be a little bit long, but I can come back and edit that now. So I'm going to go back into my vertex mode here. And I'm going to go to my top view and edit some of my points here so a little bit more natural looking. Move that around. Move those back here a little more. Thumb's a little long, so let's move that back here. Something like that. Okay, so go back to the perspective view. Go back into face mode. What I'm going to do is delete the back face here. Open that face up so you can connect it to an arm. So next thing I'm going to do is hold down Control and hit A to select all of my faces, and then come down and smooth my whole geometry over, which will be my outer form, my lattice form, with the M Smooth tool, just right underneath the cut tool. Smooth this over once so I'll have some more vertices. I'm going to go back to the top view and go into the vertices mode, and I'm going to come over here and select a loop of vertices around each finger and scale that in some so it'll look more realistic for knuckles. Come back and edit the thickness of them here in a minute. But first off, I just want to get a basic form for each finger for where the knuckles are going to be. And let's come over here and get the thumb wireframe mode, be a little easier. Scale those in for where the thumb's going to have the knuckle. And let's go back to the perspective view. Take a look. Looks pretty good. Top view, you might want to come up here and move some of the points that I've just created again out for the thumb, so it'll be a little bit more natural. So we have a good start for a hand here. So another thing I might want to do is add some fingernails to my model here. So what I want to do is actually go back into face mode, and I just want to select the faces on top of the finger. So you really can do this at a later step, but the earlier step's a little easier since we have a lower amount of polygons. And I'm going to come in here with the Extrude tool and extrude this up some. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it. So actually what I'll do is extrude it up, but then move it back down and hit the Extrude button one more time to create kind of a fingernail for the model. So I'm going to get my scale tool, kind of scale that out a little bit. And let's move this one up. So now let's back all the way out and take a look at that. Turn my wireframe off. So we have the start of a fingernail. Yes, it's still a little blocky, but then all we have to do now is just come in here and edit some of the vertices points so we can get it to look exactly how we want to. So maybe come in here, select some of these vertices, scale them in some so it looks a little bit more natural, and go all the way around and kind of do the same thing for each set of vertices. So there we go. Let's turn that back off so I can look at it. Looks pretty good. So that's what we can do for each finger for a fingernail. So what we can also do is come in here and let's hold down Control within face mode and select all the faces again, and go back down and find the M Smooth option again. Smooth over the geometry one more time. So here's where your system might be bogging down, so I can come down here and find my, select the outer option of the editable poly, find the subdivision surface, and turn my iteration down to about 1 again. So the next option, what I want to do is go back into sub-object mode and go to vertex mode and be able to use my soft selection tool. So this is an easy way to be able to select the geometry and move more than one piece at a time. So I'm going to turn on soft selection and use soft selection, and then I'm going to come down here and choose shaded face toggle. So I'm going to change the color of it, but that's just the selection method of it. So now I can come in here and select some points where the knuckles would be, and I can change my fallout, turn it lower or higher. Change that to about 20 right now. Maybe some of these back here. There we go. And move some of these up to be able to create some knuckles. Now you don't want to go too strong, but move some of these areas up. So it's going to create some knuckles here. So if we move out of that fashion, you'll be able to see some knuckle movement, and you can continue on with the rest of the model with using the soft selection to be able to edit the geometry and have more detailed geometry here.